Welcome to the Fierce Fatty podcast. I am your host, Victoria Wellesby, and this is episode 31. And today we're talking about the lies we tell ourselves so we can't get to a place of body love. Let's do it.
Perfect.
You're listening to the Fierce Fatty podcast. I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty podcast. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to this episode. So pleased to have you here, and welcome back if you've tuned in before, and hello if you've never listened to the show before. I'm so pleased that you're here. I'm feeling pretty good today. I'll tell you why. I got to see my sister and her two children yesterday, my nibbling. So Finley, who's 3 years old, and Molly, who is, what month is it now? May. She's 6 months old. So I haven't seen them in February, March, April, May, June. February, March, April, May. 4 months. So I haven't seen Molly since she was two months old. And she's grown so much. Oh my gosh. We went for a walk, so we were allowed, the guidance in Ireland is that we're allowed to have 4 people from a family meet as long as they're 2 meters apart in an outside space. So we went for a walk along the sea, and it was so nice. Like yesterday I woke up and I was like, oh my God, we're going on an adventure. How exciting. Like something a few months ago, I would just been like, oh, this is cool. But, I wouldn't be, being like, oh my God, this is happening. So it was really nice. And to see Finley, who's almost 3 now, his speech is like developed so much. It's mad, really. It's mad how kids grow so quickly. So yes, and I have got a few more podcast reviews that have come through. Thank you very much. By the way, if you leave me a podcast review, take a screenshot before you submit it, so you can do that on Stitcher and on iTunes, and email me, victoria@fiercefatty.com, and I will send you a digital and audio copy of my best-selling book called Fierce Fatty OVS for free. I'll just send it to you. No questions asked. Well, maybe if you leave a review and you're like, Victoria's a massive knobhead, then maybe I might be like, what's going on here? But I just wanted to share a couple of the reviews that I've got recently. So this one I got yesterday from Karen, and she gave it 5 stars. Love this podcast, and I just love to listen to this podcast. Victoria is very funny. Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you. Beautiful. Fat positive role model. Amazing. This podcast is an absolute must hear for anybody who wants to love their body. And the next one I have is from Kate, and Kate's reviewed on iTunes and said, I cannot get enough, 5 stars. As someone who is struggling to fully accept and love my body, this podcast provides an honest and thoughtful insight into how to reprogram the fat shame that society has taught us. When I listen to her, I feel like my big sister is talking to me about self-love, which has always been a dream of mine. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. And thank you everyone who has left a review. The thing about iTunes, it's so effing annoying, is iTunes, it only shows reviews from whatever country you happen to be looking at versus all the reviews that exist of that podcast. And so if you live in a weird country, this is my please leave a review. So I say weird country, a country that is not the United States, Canada, or the UK, because that's where most of my reviews come from. But if you live in those countries too, leave a review. But if you live in a country which is not one of those countries, then leave a review. You're probably going to be the first one to do it, and you will be participating in fat activism when you leave a review, because it means that more fatties will be able to discover this podcast and learn that their body is just a-okay, and realize that diet culture is a motherfucker, and like to yeet it into space, as the kids would say. So yes. Okay, so what we're talking about today is the lies that we tell ourselves so we can't get to a place of body love. Go and check out the show notes, because I've got a resource to help you with this. It's called the Confidence Booster Book. The Confidence Booster Book. And so it's got like quotes and different things to make you feel good and make you feel like a badass. And it's free, obviously. So go to the show notes, fiercefatty.com/031, and get the Confidence Booster Book that is going to help you with what we are talking about. And the reason why this episode is really important is because people say to me all the time, Victoria, I would love to be confident. I would love to accept my fat body. But I would love to feel like you, but I can't do it. I just don't think I can get there. It's not an option for me. I've tried and it's not worked, or I haven't tried, but I know there's no point in trying because it's not going to work. Being like you is not possible, but I admire you for it. And I also want it, but I am not going to get there. So a lot of people say that, like, I wish I could have your confidence. And I'm just like, cool, just do it. And what people hear when I say, like, you can do it is, I don't know, like, they hear me being like, theoretically you can do it, but you're not going to do it because you're not the type of person to be able to do it, because you're, you know, this is what I presume people are thinking, and what I thought when I wasn't confident, but I'm particularly ugly. Like, I'm particularly disgusting. I'm particularly fucked up. My life experiences are particularly bad. So, I would never get to a place of confidence. Like, the people around me, my family, are particularly fat phobic. Have you seen my belly? It's way massive, bigger than what we see on Instagram, and my tits are extra saggy, not like yours, and my bum is flat, not like, you know, big, you know, what it should be, and my cellulite is extra cellulite-y. And, you know, I when I was not confident, I would look at confident people and just be like, well, they have something special or something extra or something about them that I don't have, or they, underneath their clothes, they might be fat, but they've got perky tits, or they've got a flat stomach, or you know, they've got some sort of thing that I don't have, which means it's not possible for me. And that, my friend, is total and complete. What do you think I'm going to say? Yes, you're right. Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. But it's also is 100%, 1,000,000% normal to feel like this. So many people feel like this, like that they can't get there and do certain things. So it's not possible for them to get there because they have these beliefs that hinder them. And I want to break some of that down today. So don't feel bad if you're in that position where you're like, I'm not there. I'm worried I can't get there. And, whatever it is that you think is particularly bad about you or your situation, it's normal to feel like that. But let's see if we can turn it around somewhat today, or even turn it all the way around to the end of the episode. You're like, yes, bitch, wow, and like flopping your tits out at traffic lights and stuff. Probably don't do that, but you can if you want, if you're feeling excited. Maybe don't do it while you're actually driving the car. So first off, the belief that you can't get to a place where you accept your body or even love your body is a belief. And I've said it before on the podcast of what a belief is. A belief isn't a fact. A fact is 100% true 100% of the time. And what makes up our beliefs is information that we've gathered throughout our lifetime. So you have gathered evidence that has come to the conclusion of this belief that you can't get to a place of confidence, or you don't know how, or there's some sort of barrier there. There's a belief or many beliefs that are behind that belief that you can't get to a place of body confidence. And remember, these beliefs can feel very, 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 very real, but they're not set in stone. They're not solid gold fact. And a lot of the times, what is happening when you think a negative thing about yourself, or if I think a negative thing about myself, is we are looking at the evidence that we have available to us and we say, aha, evidence around me shows that I can't do this thing. And really, we're not a lot of times clearly looking at what evidence we have available to us, because it's like confirmation bias, right? Confirmation bias, Wikipedia says, is the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information that confirms or supports one's prior personal belief or values. Is a type of cognitive bias. People display this bias when they gather or remember information selectively, or when they interpret it in a biased way. So, throughout my life, I've done this so many times. A big thing, especially when there's very clear evidence to prove that the belief that I have about myself is not true. So, for example, I would have the belief that I am bad at my job. I used to be in recruitment. I was in recruitment for 10 years. Now, if you're in recruitment, if you know anything about recruitment, what we do is you find people and you get them jobs at companies. That type of recruitment I was doing, and in-house actually. But anyway, that doesn't matter. It is really hard. It is really hard. And so if anyone lasts in recruitment past 6 months, then they're doing something well. And so not only did I last in recruitment past 6 months, I was in it for like almost 10 years. And not only that, I won an award for being the best at my job. And this wasn't on opinions. This is on the amount of money that I made in my best in my job in the country. Okay, so that is evidence to prove maybe I might be good at my job. Maybe. Even if I haven't won that award and like won a 5-star vacation and all that type of jazz, there was still evidence to prove that I was good at my job. But still, I would be like, well, am I though? Am I though? I was, the other people that I was competing against for that award were rubbish and they weren't that good. And that's why I won. And I only won because I had that lucky break and that thing happened and it wasn't to do with me. And I only won because this and that. So it's not really based on my skills. And I would rationalize it away, which is what we do. Is humans, is when something doesn't align with your beliefs, you either rationalize it away or you just ignore it. You just be like, well, award? I didn't win an award. What are you talking about? You just ignore it. And this is something that people who are intelligent do. So studies show the more intelligent you are, the better you are at twisting data to support your beliefs. So it means you're skilled. So there you go. You've got some skills if you do this. Okay, so are you looking back in your life and say, okay, well, I'm just a bit of a loser. I'm a failure. My whole life I've hated my body. Therefore, I can not love my body in the future. Well, have you ever experienced any type of success in your life? Yeah, of course you fucking have. Like, hello, you're a human being. Like, from the time you were a baby, you have done so much stuff, right? So you learn to do things, for example, like walk or feed yourself or speak or know how to work the internet or so many things, know how to make yourself dinner, be able to get a job or be able to play, be able to brush your hair. These are all skills, these are all achievements, right? And you think about it, if a little kid was learned how to, I don't know, braid their hair, you'd be like, what? You know how to braid your hair? That's so good. What? But as we get older, we're like, well, whatever, it's not a big deal. And even our day-to-day experiences of getting out of bed, brushing our teeth, maybe you don't brush your teeth, having a shower, maybe you don't have a shower, whatever. Whatever you do in a day, it's success. It's straight up success. And as well, I bet you you've done other things, like gotten the job above other people. Like, if you ever gotten a job, you were chosen over all of the other applicants. You were the one that they picked. Wow. That's an achievement. Damn. Have you ever maintained a relationship? Well, fucking relationships are hard. No matter what, like platonic, romantic, family, that shit is hard. And you did some amazing things to continue to make that happen, or made that happen. And I bet you have other, like, really brag-worthy things that you've had happen in your life. So we're able to look at those and kind of be like, well, even notice now how you're like, well, that doesn't count. It's not that cool that I learned how to do like this like amazing trick on the skateboard, or loads of people can do that. Notice how you're rationalizing away your skills and abilities, or ignoring it, right? Because that's the other thing. We just poo-poo it. We just say, well, whatever, that doesn't count. So you have the skills to be able to get to this place of body acceptance or body love. You have the skills. They exist within you. And have you ever had moments where you felt good about yourself? Have you ever had moments where you stood up for yourself, or you felt like you had more self-esteem than you normally did? Have you ever had times where you've been brave and you've done things that previously you thought that you couldn't do? Well, that's what getting to a place of body love or acceptance is doing those things. It's having those small moments of, holy shit, I'm doing this thing and I'm scared, and holy shit, I'm having a moment where I'm setting a boundary with someone or whatever. Like, that's it. You're doing it. So the belief that you can't do it is a belief. And you need to really look at the reasons why you think that you can't do it, and how you're not that type of person, or you're so particularly ugly, or you're so whatever, and you're fat in the wrong way, or whatever it is. Because I've heard these things like so many times, and I get it. Like, I used to be like, well, my tits, but then my tits are really just unattractive. Like, I can't ever flash my tits if I'm on holiday in Ibiza, which is, I thought, what you had to do as an adult. When I was a kid, watching like late night TV, and it'd always be like, Ibiza, teenagers going to Ibiza, and then people, like women, flashing their tits on camera and being like, I can never do that. My tits are not like those women's tits. And so that's not, for me, that's not what confidence is. It's not, flashing my tits. Not to say that I wouldn't flash my tits, but that is, I thought that what confidence was feeling like I wanted to flash my tits because they were so amazing. But that is not what confidence is. And on that note too, you might be looking at me and my style of confidence and being like, well, I can't strut around in a bikini and take videos of myself being a knob at the pool, or stand on a TEDx stage and take my dress off and jiggle my fat and sing and quote unquote dance. I say dance, I was just flailing my arms around to a Lizzo song. Well, that's fine. That's my version of confidence. And that's very, very particular to me. That's my expression. And the reason why is because I had a list when I was when I was like 22, I had a list, 30 things to do before 30. And it was things like, I don't know, have sex outside, and go to meet Kate Nash, or go to a Jan Tiersen concert. And one of them was wear a bikini. Now, when I wrote wear a bikini, what I meant was become thin enough to wear a bikini, but I didn't need to write become thin enough, because that was the obvious, because clearly I was not going to be wearing a bikini the weight that I was in my brain at that time. And so it was this goal. I always wanted to wear a bikini. And my condition of doing that was that I would become a supermodel, miraculously. Something would happen. I would lose, in my mind, like 95% of my body weight, and then I'd be like, oh my god, look at me, and I'd finally be quote unquote allowed. Like, the bikini police would give me a license and say, okay, you are now allowed, Ms. Wellesby, to wear this string bikini now that you are thin enough. And so for me, being able to wear a bikini now as a fat person, it's my kind of like fuck you to fat phobia and diet culture. It's just particular to me. Now, I know loads of fat people who are super confident, and bikinis aren't their thing. Dancing in front of a camera isn't their thing. Public speaking isn't their thing. It doesn't mean that they're not confident. It's just not their thing, right? And maybe they do things that is not my thing. Like, for example, posing nude. Like, I would pose nude for like an art class or something, but only if I knew that those images wouldn't be on the internet. And for me, the only reason is I just want to keep something private, my flaps. I want to keep my flaps private. And it doesn't mean I'm not confident. I don't care if people see my flaps. It's just, I don't know, just something that I just don't want, right? I'm just not interested in. I have like a nude illustration that will be coming out soon that someone has done of me. I don't want to say who yet, because it's going to be a surprise. But I've asked them to cover my nipple, just so that there's like that level that I don't, that level that I don't want to cross on the internet. Whereas for other fat people, fat confident people, they're like, yeah man, fucking get right in my crevices. And that's wonderful, that's great. That's perfect for them, right? So if you are looking at me or other confident people who you think I would like to be like that, but I don't want to be, exposing my bum hole. Well, guess what? You don't have to expose your bum hole, right? Your bum hole can just be for you and your significant other and your doctor or whatever, or whoever else you want to show it to. But if you don't want to get on the internet and like bend over and be like, have a look at this, fellas, it doesn't mean you're not confident, right? What is confidence for you? It could just be not thinking about your body all day long. It could just be wearing something that feels good for you. It could be telling that one person at work to maybe not talk about their diet. It could be telling them to fuck off. You know, it's, guess what? It's individual to you because we're all different. So what confirmation bias have you got going on when you're looking at the evidence to support the idea that you can't do it? Is it possible that you're wrong when it comes to your limiting negative self-beliefs? Is it possible that you're wrong when it comes to your limiting negative self-beliefs? Is it possible that they are not based in reality? Is it possible that those beliefs were implanted into your gorgeous brain in nefarious ways by people and companies that don't care about your well-being, and you have internalized them to be true? Is that a possibility? Yeah, of course. Of course. And so that's a wonderful thing. Not that that happened. That sucks. Let's, not be teaching people that their bodies are bad. But it's a wonderful thing because it is not a truth. It's not a universal truth that you are the most disgusting human that ever walked the earth, or whatever version of that you currently might believe. So another thing that stops people is that they look at the mountain that is the journey that is ahead of them. And say if there was a confidence scale and 100 is like uber confidence, like the most confident you could be without being a knob. Good confidence. When I say good high confidence, I mean self-compassion. I don't mean that you're like, yo, motherfuckers, I'm the fucking best thing in the world ever. I am the best human in the world. Woo! All of you other people can fucking suck my tits. No, that's not what confidence is. That's being a knob. So confidence for me, like 100%, not that confidence on the scale, but feeling confident for me is having self-compassion and saying that I'm a human being. I am totally imperfect. Obviously not me, I am perfect. Jokes. That I'm imperfect and that's okay, right? So that for me, that is what confidence is self-compassion. So on a scale of like 1 to 100, like 1 being like you think that you're a piece of shit, like literally like you're a maggot or whatever, and 100% is 100 is I feel really deep self-compassion. Like if you were at a lower number on that scale and you see confidence and getting there as you're 80% away from getting to that goal of feeling confident, is that overwhelming? Does that seem like something that is achievable? Does that seem like some fairy tale pipe dream, like why be so ridiculous to think that you're going to get there? Yeah, of course. Like shit. Of course. It is like, I use this analogy. It's like, imagine if you've never done any mountaineering before and someone said, okay, right, tomorrow we're going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Your brain is going to be like, bitch, no, that ain't gonna happen. What? I can't do that. I've never climbed anywhere. I am going to die. And that is a right reaction to probably have. But if someone said, right, tomorrow we're going to Google where to find a snowsuit. Oh God, snow suit. We're going to Google where to find a suit. Fuck. You try saying that. See if you say snow snoot. Okay, so we're going to go Google, find where we can find a snow snoot. Can you do that? Well, yeah. Have you used Google before? Probably. Unless you're in one of those countries that you like using Bing, or, you're a weirdo that uses Bing. Why are you doing that? Or Yahoo or something? Anyway, so yeah, you've probably searched for something on the internet. Okay, so you can do that. And so you're like, I can do that. And so then day one, searching find your snow snoot. Day two, let's Google and find a mountaineering instructor in the area. Or let's just watch a video on how to mountain climb. You can do that. Easy, right? So when you break it down like that, of course you can do it. But when you look at it like climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which is for some people would be easier than loving themselves, it is not possible, because you're looking at it as a whole. You're looking at it as the final destination versus, okay, what is the first thing that I can do? What is the easiest? What is a way where there isn't a barrier? And let's not think about getting to the top of the mountain yet, because it's a way off. Let's just try and improve my situation by 1%. Let's just try and make things just a little bit better for myself. And then before you realize, you look back and you're like, holy fucking shit, we're at the top of the mountain. And, it was the same for me, because obviously, you might not know that I haven't always been confident. I used to have really low self-esteem. And so if someone said to me, Victoria, how about giving a TEDx talk, and at the end of the TEDx talk, undo your dress, drop it to the floor, and you stand there in a bikini, shake your tits around to some music and dance for like 15-20 seconds in front of an audience of 2,600 people. I would probably straight up and do a poo. I'd just poo. I'd be like, no, not even close. I wouldn't even wear a bikini in my own house on my own and look at myself in the mirror. Never mind, any of that whole thing. Not in a bajillion years there's something wrong with your brain if you think that I can do that. So, when I had low self-esteem, if someone said that is your final destination, I would just be like, no. Don't be silly. That I'm not the type of person who can do that. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to show this disgusting body to the world? But, when I took one step and the next step, when you've taken so many steps and you've become so strong and resilient in this area, someone didn't tell me. I had the idea myself. It's just, it was another step of growth. Before I did it, of course I was like, what are people going to think, in regards to the act of me taking my clothes off, not what are they going to think of my body? I probably did think about what people are going to think of my body, but I just thought, well, people are going to think, she is a goddess to she is horrible, and that's fine. But yeah. Yes. So you have to just break it down into the easiest thing. And before you realize, you're going to be flapping your tits out everywhere. Or not, whatever it is that you want to do, and your own version of confidence. So here is a fact for you. There are tons of resources out there to help you love yourself. You're listening to one right now. But obviously, through the podcast, I can't give you personalized one-on-one coaching. There's no one in this room with me. I'm talking to myself right now. Now, this is not personalized one-on-one coaching. By listening to the podcast, you're not doing something like going through my Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my e-course where I teach about this stuff and we go even more in depth, and I coach you one-on-one. Reading my book, you're getting more information. But there's so many resources out there for you to get to a place where you love and accept yourself. It could be going to a therapist. It could be, everyone's journey is different, right? So why haven't you Or why do we generally not take the action to get to that next level? Why do we not take, when we hear advice of, you should do this or that or whatever, why do we not listen to advice? Why do we think we can do it all ourselves? Like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Could you do it on your own? I don't know, probably not actually, but probably someone's done it on their own. I don't know. I don't know anything about Mount Kilimanjaro. I have no idea. But maybe people don't even climb that mountain. Anyway, could you do it on your own? Yes, probably. Very, 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 very difficult. Would it be easier if you had someone to guide you, to someone to ask questions and say, like, should we go this way? Should we go that way? Which is like, common mistakes that people make. What about that crevice over there? Is it safe to walk over? What about this ladder? Like, how do I use it? Would it be easier if you had someone to help you along? Well, of course. And so we know this, right? We know this. But a lot of the times we try and do things on our own. To try and, for whatever reason, we're going to talk about those reasons now. I have done it many times. Like when I started my business, I was like, I ain't going to pay for no coaching, like no dummy. I'm going to see how other people do it by watching them online and just copy them. And no, that didn't work. My business only started working when I paid for coaching, when I bought e-courses. And I remember this e-course, I was listening to this person, super famous in the online business world, and she had an e-course and it was $97 a month for 12 months, and I was like, oh, it's so expensive. And I could afford it at the time. I could have afforded it, like no problem at all, literally no problem at all. But I was like, no, I'm just going to reverse engineer everything and like work it out myself instead of spending that $97. Like if I could go back to Victoria then, I would have been like, Victoria, stop trying to make it harder for yourself. Here is an expert who knows how to do it. Just give them the money and learn how to do it without making it harder for yourself. And the thing is, like, I had the money. So why do we choose not to take action? Well, the reason is there are benefits to not doing this work, to not working on loving our body. Benefits being, it's really fucking scary. So it's easier not to do this work. It is really scary. It is actually dangerous. It could be harmful for our health, for our mental health. Especially for a topic like this, going against the majority of the world and saying, I'm going to love my fat body. I'm not going to try and lose weight. Holy shit. That is hard. And so, of course, it makes sense that we don't want to take action when it's hard, because we could be in physical danger. You're probably going to face criticism. What are you going to say to the people around you? If you say, oh, I'm going into therapy to learn how to love myself, or I'm taking this e-course, learning how to love myself, or I'm doing this one-on-one coaching with this person who's an expert in it, learn how to love myself. People around you are going to have opinions, right? And so some of those opinions might be criticism. I've seen it so many times. People are like, oh, how, my family think this, my family think, or people around me think that, I've gone mad or something because I'm doing this. Another thing about it is you're going to have to let go of old stories, and you have to challenge long-held beliefs that you have about yourself. And it could be challenging your identity of who you are. And that's difficult. That brings up a lot of emotions. So, of course, it's easier to not take action and not take that next step. Like, if your goal is to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, it'd be way easier just to not. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be way easier just to not? But if you knew that climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, really, you knew it was going to make your life so much better. It was just going to make you feel really good, and it was going to have lots of positive outcomes that far outweighed the negative ones, then you know you have to do it, right? And it's the same with body love. Do you know that there is going to be a load of shit? You know, when you're in it, that you're probably going to be like, fuck this. Why am I doing this? This sucks. I just want to go home, go to bed, have a nice warm bath. Fuck the mountain. You know, you have to decide. Like, for me, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, I ain't interested. The benefits for me are not going to outweigh the negative. Like, I'm not interested in sleeping in a tent. I don't do well with a lack of oxygen because I have asthma, and so I know I wouldn't enjoy that. And nah, I say that like in 10 years I'm like, I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. But no, I'm just not interested. And so some people are not interested in learning to love their body. It's just not their thing. They're just not interested. They know it's not going to have any benefit to their life. But presuming if you're listening to the podcast, that you know that this is an issue for you, and you know that a lot of areas in your life could be better if you had higher self-esteem. So another thing is people think that they're giving up on their health. Now, this is something that I've covered a lot in previous podcast episodes. So look at anything that has health in the title to talk about how you're literally doing the opposite. And so people are like, well, I don't want to give up on my health. Well, that's not true. But one thing that is true is that you're having to give up on the dream and the fantasy and the hope that you will finally become thin. And that is super painful. The reason why it's painful is because we have tied a lot of outcomes to what will happen when we become thin. Most of them are magical thinking. One in particular that I can think of that is not magical thinking is being less oppressed. So being in a bigger body, there is marginalization, right? There are outcomes that people who live in bigger bodies experience that people who live in smaller bodies don't experience. There's medical fat phobia. There's, every single area of your life, like buying clothes, finding a date, going to the doctor, having friends, like everything is affected when you have a fat body. And so that is one way that, one barrier that people are like, well, I have to give up on the hope that one day I can move myself out of a marginalized group into a group that has privilege. And that is someone who has a smaller body. Now, that's a complex issue in of itself, but that is a reality of having to let go of that fantasy. And that is one of the outcomes that having a smaller body will give you. The rest of them, you can get them living in a fat body. So feeling more confident, or getting a date, or moving your body in certain ways, or whatever it is that you want to get, or feeling, sexy. You're going to, you can get that living in a fat body. But the ways that fat people are oppressed, and that comes with as well, like being able to go to a clothes store and buy, find something off the rack. Like, so many of us can't do that. Ugh. And all of us, the other things that correlate with that as well. So there are some real things that we have to let go of. And the truth is, there is no chance that there's such a small chance that if you're fat, that you're going to get into that privileged group for any length of time anyway. So, the reality is you're not really letting go of it. It's just letting go of the hope, right? So on the flip side, what are the benefits for loving yourself, for feeling more confident? Well, increased self-esteem, happiness, self-compassion, able to, I don't know, go on vacation and do those things that you've been putting off, or do those things that you think, oh, I can't do it because I have a fat body, or date people that are worthy of you, or ask for a pay rise, or wear that bikini, or whatever it is. There are so many benefits to loving your fat body, having a healthy relationship with food, not continuously dieting. So for me now, I can see how life is just so much easier. Like, my brain is free, so I don't have to constantly be like body checking or ruminating on things or playing things over in my mind because I'm shy or lack confidence or worry about what people are going to think of me. Everything is just easier. Like, it's like the volume on my life has been turned up, and I've been able to let go of these chains that have been holding me back. And before I'd be like, oh, I could think of like a couple of things that I wanted to do, like, oh, maybe I can wear that bikini or whatever. But that's just one tiny part of it, and it really is a massive, like, just everything is just easier when you don't think that you're a piece of shit. You're like, this is not news, Victoria. Of course, everything is easier. But before I couldn't get to that place because I've shared in previous episodes some of the shit things that have happened in my life, and the shit things that happened in my life is no fault of my own. But what happened after experiencing those shit things, which is totally normal to happen, is that I was like, oh, woe me. I'm a victim, and absolutely I was a victim. And it's absolutely normal to be like, woe me, and important to be in that stage. But I was letting it define me. I was like, well, I'm just such a loser, and oh, my life is so shit, and that's normal. Again, that's normal, by the way. But I was getting to a place and a time where all of these feelings of, oh, my life is shit, I'm such a loser, I'm so bad at my job, and it just got boring, it got old, and I was like, I don't like this anymore. I'm not into being like, woe is me for so many years, because it was not like 10 minutes later I'm like, buck up. It's years and years of feeling like this and believing that I wasn't good enough. And I read a book called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. He's got a TEDx talk too. It's really funny. But he is he a doctor? Is he a doctor? He was, whatever. Anyway, yeah. Like, I think he is. It is like psychology and stuff. Anyway, he studies happiness and satisfaction and all that type of stuff, brain stuff. And something that he talked about in his book, really good. I've met the guy; he's amazing. Is something called the third path. Now, when we experience bad things in our life, when we experience trauma, human beings do three things. First, the first path is exactly what I did, and what most people do is experience trauma and then they go on a downward spiral. Totally normal. That's to be expected, right? Bad thing happens. Oh, this is shit. Oh, and then we kind of get stuck. The next is, so you go on a downward spiral. The next is status quo. So a bad thing happen, and you don't necessarily make it mean anything about you, good or bad. Nothing really changes in your life. That is less common. What's really, really uncommon is the third path. The third path is going on an upward spiral. So something bad happens, some trauma, and instead of making it mean something bad about you or, your life, you use that as a push to move into something more meaningful and use it as a good experience. Now, if something bad happens and you're immediately like, oh my god, I'm so pleased that I just broke both my legs. Oh, this is the best thing that's happened to me this year. I'm going to use this as an inspirational story about courage. And you're like lying on the side of the road with your legs broken. That would be really fucking weird. Right? So don't, this is not saying like you have to be so positive all the time and, something bad happens and you're just like, oh my God, guess what happened to me? I'm so excited about it. Like, no, that would be weird and not normal. You have to go through the normal human, sadness and anger and all of that type of stuff. And then when you're ready, you can be like, okay, I'm going to use this and I'm going to go on the third path. So I got to a place where I was fed up of being on that first path, of that being like, oh, I'm such a loser. I always pick the wrong guys, and oh, my job sucks, and oh, I'm so ugly, and clothes don't fit me, which is all, that I needed that to begin with, but I got to a place where it got old, right? And I went something different, and I learned about this, the third path, and I was like, oh shit, what goodness comes out of my situation? What lessons have I taken from my life? And loads of lessons, like, holy shit, how strong did I become? Unfortunately I had to, like, that sucks, but I learned what a fucking badass I am. I learned what I don't want in life, or how I don't want to be treated. I learned what a shitty boss is, and so I'm able to spot it now and be like, oh no, thank you. So now I try to live my life with radical responsibility. And radical responsibility, which is really, in life, who can we control? Whose thoughts can we control? Whose behavior can we control? The only person we can really control is ourselves. We can influence others. We can try and manipulate others and, do things to change people's minds, but really the only person that we can influence and take responsibility for is ourselves. And so I like to, this is a radical responsibility. You can look it up. It's like a thing of saying, what can I do to make things better for me? How could I have done that better to have a different outcome? And it's not saying, blaming yourself, and sometimes you do blame yourself, but and not that blame is a bad thing, but it's not saying like, oh, I'm such a loser and it's my fault that I, that someone ran over my legs. It's just saying that I choose to have control over the way that I think and the way that I behave. And I'm not going to be blaming others constantly when I can be also looking at myself and the way that I show up in this situation, because I am the only person in the world that I can control, that I can influence directly. It's only me. It's me. And I love it. I love it because it gives me freedom, because, I can say something is not going right in my life, or what is going on. Something that I've been thinking about a lot, because I've been talking to you about me dating, is I love this kind of like, not that I love it, but I've got this idea of, men suck and it's so annoying. And so I have these beliefs of there's not that many good men out there. Now, that might be true. It might not be true. I'm I'm discovering it. Of course, there's millions of amazing men out there, but so me dating and me, going on Tinder and OkCupid and all that type of stuff and having conversations that aren't fulfilling for me, in what way can I take radical responsibility? What am I doing to screen these people out? What am I doing to make the conversation great? Things like that. And, it doesn't have to be so in depth where you're just like, it's all about me and it's all about how I'm not doing well enough. It's about how I can influence my own behavior to make it more aligned with who I want to be as a person. So you have to look at the benefits of not loving your body, because there are benefits, and look at the benefits of working towards a place of body love and body neutrality, or whatever you want to call it, and decide, what do I want to do? And by not making a decision, by default, you're voting for, if you don't currently love your body, you're voting for not loving your body. So you have to decide, do I want to try and work towards climbing that mountain or do I not? And you might say, do you know what? I'm not that interested. I don't really want to climb that mountain of body love. It's not for me. That's absolutely fine. But there could be a part of you that's like, this is my calling. I need to do this. I know I've spent my whole fucking life hating myself and wasting so much precious brain energy and not being in photos with my kids and you know, just not going for it because of how I feel about myself. And I know I need to do this. And so that if you feel like that, then you can make a decision of, I need to do this, and take that first step. And even if you think, I can't do it, what is the first step? What's the easiest thing? Okay, so you're listening to podcast. What might be the next step in your journey? Is it to research therapists in your area? Is it to do my Fierce Fatty Academy? Currently, when this podcast comes out, the doors aren't open, by the way. So, but it could just be, emailing someone or messaging someone and saying, I would like to learn how to do this. Can you help me? Whatever it looks like for you, but take that first step. And when you've taken that first step, then you can think about the next one. So don't think about the whole mountain, because if you think about the whole mountain, you'll be just like, fuck this shit. I'm not going to do it. But let me tell you, from my perspective, it is so worth it. It's so worth it. If you know, you've spent a big part of your life wasting brain energy thinking that you're not good enough. Honestly, you can do it. Those feelings that you have about yourself are beliefs. Remember, a belief is something that it's not a fact. A fact is 100% true 100% of the time. And just take the first step. So they are some of the lies that we tell ourselves so we can't get to a place of body love. So that you can't do it. You're looking, you have confirmation bias, and you're looking to the past of how you're such a loser and how it's not possible for you. You're believing those negative, limiting self-beliefs that you have. And you're not taking action on taking the next step in climbing the body love mountain. Body love mountain! So that's the end of our episode. But hey, I guess what? Do you know what I really like has been making my brain happy recently? And I feel like I'm such a teenager. Is TikTok. Have you been on TikTok? Oh my gosh. I love a bit of TikTok. I've only been on it for the last couple of weeks or whatever. But I've been posting them on my Instagram. It just makes me happy. People doing silly dances and people, telling jokes to their mum and seeing their mum's reaction. Or this one guy was like, his parents were who I presume his parents were in the kitchen listening to music, and he says, oh, can I put on one song? And they're like, oh, fine. And then he puts on my neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. You know that song? I think it's by Kia. Lick my neck, and they're like, stop it. One of the jokes was, so this girl says a joke to her mum. What's the difference between two dicks and a joke? The answer is, I can't take a joke. Yes. I told this to my mum and she's like, what? I don't get it. If you don't get it, it means that I can take two dicks. And it's worse if you say it to your parents, because it means that you take two dicks. And so I explained it to my mum. I was like, basically, Ma, I can take two dicks. And she was like, well, probably not at the same time. After she understood what I was talking about. So, so hey, why not check out a bit of TikTok? I don't think you should follow me on TikTok because I've not done anything on there. It's just my picture, So I'm not going to tell you to follow me on TikTok because there's no point. But there's fat people on TikTok. Allegedly, I've only found like one yet. So far I've not seen any like diet bullshit or any like any bullshit so far, but I bet you it's probably on there, but it's just, it's making me feel good. Or you can just go to my Instagram, fierce.fatty, and see the TikToks that I've shared. That's another one. This guy says, to disguise a fart, drop something at the same time you fart and people won't hear it. And so he's in his room with his parents. He drops a tissue and it gently floats to the ground as he lets out like the longest, wettest fart. And his parents are just like, you're just disgusting. Just get out of here. That reminded me so much of my sister. So I sent it to my sister and she enjoyed it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. So believe in yourself, okay, you stupid idiot. All right, believe in yourself. You can do it, and come and join me on this Body Love Mountain. It's pretty cool here. On this Body Love Mountain we share TikTok. So yeah. And on the theme of me hating men, where do mansplainers get their water? Where do mansplainers get their water? From the well, actually. Get it? From the well, actually, because they say, well, actually, you'll find that blah, blah, blah. Okay, I shouldn't be explaining my jokes. Not my jokes, I stole them from other people, but yeah. All right, well, thank you for hanging out with me today on this episode. It's been a slice, as always. I really enjoy talking to you and getting your messages and your voicemails on Instagram. And if you want to ask a question for the podcast, then just message me anywhere, email me, victoria@fiercefatty.com, or even if you want to do it anonymously, there's a link on the podcast, the show notes, and the show notes is fiercefatty.com/031, and you can do that there. And also, I forgot, go and check out the show notes, because I've got a resource to help you with this. It's called the Confidence Booster Book. And so it's got like quotes and different things to make you feel good and make you feel like a badass, and it's free, obviously. So go to the show notes, fiercefatty.com/031, and get the Confidence Booster Book that is going to help you with what we are talking about. So, all right. I'll see you in the next episode, you incredible human being, you. All right. See you later, fatty. Bye.